The world champions against a side that wants to be world champions. Sadly, this now is the dethroned world champions against a side that is playing like world champions. This is WION World of Cricket. I am Digvijay Singh. We are building up to England versus India. This game comes our way from Lucknow. Dav Whatmore, Sri Lanka's 1996 World Cup winning coach, here with me. And from Lucknow, outside the Bharat Ratna Atal Bihari Vajpayee Stadium, is my colleague Vidur Kathuria, who's keeping an eye out on what's happening there in the build-up. Dav, let me start with you. When this tournament was about to kick off, when you arrived over here, this was the game everyone wanted to be. That's why we sent Vidur over there.
Yeah.
But now it's how do we? What's the right word to call this match now?
This is a potential
dead rubber.
No. It's a potential party spoiler. That's
okay.
what it is. But I mean, withstanding that though, there are some wonderful players on that England team that I'm sure that the spectators who come today will want to see it also, you know. But yes, like so many people around the world, 3 weeks ago we're thinking, yeah, this is potentially the final a rehearsal, England versus India, but sadly it won't be that.
Vidur, what's the mood like? Is it hot? What are the conditions? What can you tell us?
Oh, it's actually very pleasant here, Digvijay, not very different from the weather in Delhi. So it's expected to be about 30-31 degrees Celsius and no sign of rain, so that's good. The fans can expect an uninterrupted match. In terms of the atmosphere here, I can tell you it's a wonderful stadium, 50,000 capacity. At some point in the match, I think we will see a full house. And as expected, we see lots of Virat Kohli jerseys here around me. And in fact, I think I saw a few English fans who were wearing Virat Kohli jerseys. So that just tells you that everyone wants to see Virat Kohli. Just tells you about that he's the face of cricket.
Face of cricket could get the record today as well, the 49th century, which will equal the great Sachin Tendulkar. But forget blue, I'm only seeing khaki. I'm only seeing police people around you, Vidur.
And Vidur, I reckon the English spectators have an eye for bargains. It's a Diwali bargain probably, and there's cheap Virat Kohli jerseys that they're snapping up.
How many have you bought? How many have you bought to share with us over here?
On the way to the stadium, there are a number of people who are selling Virat Kohli jersey, and I think a few English fans just nicked a few so that they can change jerseys during the match if things don't go their way.
Okay, if things not going their way, we are waiting for the toss to happen. But when you talk of things not going their way, nothing has gone their way.
No.
And it's been an absolute shambles. I was hearing Nasser Hussain on commentary after the last game when he said he would still pick this England 15 to play the World Cup. But I was listening to Eoin Morgan yesterday, and he said this is shambolic. He says, I've played in teams which didn't know what they were doing, but this team knew what they were doing. And because of that, this has been a bigger shock, because this team was expected to do well for a reason. And he said what they've done is the first dash of panic, they've abandoned everything that we built since 2015.
Oh, they're harsh words, but it's, in my opinion, it's a combination of a few things. I think right back in the beginning, I'm not sure that Jason Roy should have been left out for Brook, but that's not my decision. That's number one. Number two, yes, they came...
Hang on, England have won the toss. They've elected to bowl first.
Okay, so
that's the news from the toss. England have won the toss. England are going to bowl first. We'll get the teams once we have them. Yeah.
So it looks like they just want to have India do something different to what they have done in the past.
Break the rhythm.
Break the rhythm, yeah. So listen, just very quickly, they came to England on the plane very buoyant and confident. They played the first game, and they were about probably, I don't know, 30 to 50 runs short. Still 280 at the Ahmedabad Stadium. Not bad. but they bowled horribly. Wicket began to play a little easier under lights. They lose by a big margin to New Zealand, right? Then
Normal service in Dharamsala.
Yes.
Normal service, Maran gets 100,
Yep.
360 odd.
That's right. And then when they come back into the main cities, they feel, no, we got to chase on this because it's easier. And they give the advantage to the opposition where they score huge amounts and ultimately resulting in Afghanistan beating them. So then a big change. 3 major changes out and then same thing happens.
But that's exactly what Owen Morgan said.
Yeah.
And we're going to get Vidur in because he was listening to Marcus Trescothick on that. But Dav, yesterday, I mean, what I was hearing from Owen Morgan was that you don't abandon the format that has taken you to victory. The 3 changes, he said, was A, panicked, it was muddled, the thinking was muddled, and they were confused.
Well,
these are 3 big words coming from somebody who's sort of enabled that reset of English cricket.
But you've got to understand as well, they're big words and it's easy to come and, tell us why. Woakes was horribly out of form. You can understand some of these changes. It's not the best. Yes, it hasn't worked, on hindsight. But these guys, apart from maybe Moeen Ali, who was left out too early, they're out of form. They're out of form. So you're damned if you do and you're damned if you don't.
But he also said that it can never be, he's never seen a team that is collectively out of form. He's hinting at perhaps there is something else which has sort of contributed to England losing the chain of thought. He says, when you are in the heat of battle, okay, it's not what you say in the press conference, oh, I'm going to be aggressive, I'm going to play aggressive cricket. When he says the talk of being muddled or sort of not having that clarity of mind is in the heat of battle. And those are the decisions England have got wrong on the pitch. And he said, what surprises me is that this England team knew all throughout how to handle such occasions. So they've crumbled under pressure.
Yeah, well, they put themselves in the wrong spot anyway, right from the beginning. So, that sort of helps to make poor decisions, and then, one bad game becomes 2, 2 becomes 3. And no matter how good you are, it doesn't take long before you find yourself, in the point of no return.
Okay, before I get Vidur in, let's take a look at the Indian team. No changes in the top 5 and no changes in the top 6. Surya Kumar Yadav plays.
Keep going.
Okay, in fact, they've gone with the same team. Shami.
All right, okay.
Shami stays,
so no
Surya
Ashwin.
stays, no Ashwin.
Okay.
India have gone unchanged against England in this match at Lucknow. Vidur, we're just waiting to see what England have done, unless you can tell us what they've picked. We're just waiting to see who England have picked. But you were at that press conference yesterday when Marcus Trescothick was talking. What's the sense you got? Have they been able to figure out why it's gone so horribly wrong? Or they're still searching? It's like that jigsaw puzzle. They're still searching for answers.
Well, I think, Digvijay, they're still searching for answers. Trescothick was very candid in his press conference. He said that, during training sessions, during practice sessions, it's all the same. It's what they have been doing for the past few years that has got them success. And they feel good about themselves, in fact, going into matches. It's just that when it comes to that match day, things haven't gone right for them. And we talk about a collective failure. In 5 matches, how many centuries have they scored? 1 century from David Whatmore. That's just not good enough from the defending champions. And it is their batting that has got them this success. And they just haven't turned up. Joe Root, Joss Buttler. Joss Buttler has scored 90 odd runs in 5 matches. And he's the captain. He's one of the best white ball players of probably his generation. So I think they're scratching their heads a little bit. But ultimately it comes down to your performance on the day. And for defending champions, it just has not been good enough. But having said that, this match is sort of a free hit for them. They're more or less out of the tournament. And we know that they are due a performance. So it could come against hosts India today.
Are you going to witness that performance? Let's wait and see. What we don't need to wait for is the England team. We're going to have it on our screens as we speak. The news from the toss, England have gone unchanged.
Okay. Look, I really...
Somebody's been listening to Owen Morgan.
Yeah, but look, I'm unsure if there's any other issues within that team, but I do know from experience that when teams, put a couple of losses together, they tighten up, and it takes a lot of encouragement to each player to loosen up and just keep going, and just without failure.
But just on that, looking at this team, okay, every one of them has played under Eoin Morgan. Now, Eoin Morgan won them the World Cup, should have sort of captained at the last T20 as well, but then he took a call that his body is not going to be ready, and he backed off. I mean, there are other countries where people carry on, but he backed off. How much of inputs would, say, a Jos Buttler or others take from him? Because he wasn't in India, he'd headed back for the birth of his child. But do teams, once a captain is moved on, it's still his team, because the nucleus of the team is something which started with Jos. You think people like Stokes or Buttler would have reached out to him, or once moved on, you back off?
To Morgan. Yeah, look, my philosophy is that if anybody can help the team win, no problems. To have an attitude where, hey, this is my team, put a ring fence around it and say, don't touch, that's the worst thing that you can possibly do. So I have no problems, and I wouldn't think that the England setup would have problems if particularly an ex-captain who've won the World Cup has got a suggestion or two. So I think I'd welcome that, and I hope that may have happened. But looking at that 11, all right, you have an opener left-hander, you have Ben Stokes a left, number 4 left-hander, and you got Moeen Ali, who's a left-hander. That's 3 out of the top 7 are left-handers.
And there's no Ashwin.
There's no Ashwin.
Okay, let's bring up the Indian squad. Let's bring up the Indian squad and let's look at perhaps what is the thinking over there. So unchanged, we've heard on television, we've seen articles everywhere that Shubman Gill, Surya Kumar Yadav and Virat Kohli were practicing some bowling. Let's ask Vidur Kathuria as the team comes up. Vidur, did you see any of these 3 bowling when you were at the nets yesterday?
Well, I did see some of them bowling, but actually none of the Indian bowlers actually were involved in the practice session yesterday. So the 3 that you mentioned, they batted first and they were playing to net bowlers, and then they sort of just tried their hand out at bowling. As it was like Ben Stokes, the way Ben Stokes has been bowling during practice sessions, the off spin. So that's how Virat Kohli and Surya Kumar Yadav were bowling. But as expected, not as expected actually, there was some speculation that Ashwin would return to the lineup because of the turning pitch. It offers some assistance to the spinners, but I think India have gone with an unchanged 11, and why change a winning combination? And it's sort of impossible to put Mohammad Shami out of that at 11 after the performance he had against New Zealand. And this team now has got a good week's rest. 1 week, they've had time to prepare again, sort of reset. And if they can get another victory today, then spot in the semi-finals is pretty much assured.
Pretty much, it's absolutely assured. It's done. Okay, Vidur, I have sent you a message. I'm going to talk to Dav. You can check that. Some good news coming your way. I'm going to give you 5 minutes break so that you make that call. But talking about India, let's get the Indian team back on our screens. Yeah, we have it here. You're surprised they haven't gone with Ashwin, but does that tell you? Because I was reading somewhere that it's a used pitch, but they expect the seamers to play a role.
Yeah, maybe because there's a little bit of red clay in it, so you get a bit more bounce, a bit of carry. It's patchy from what I saw in the pitch report earlier on. Look, I would have originally I had 3 spinners and 2 quicks, but if they're adamant they want 3 fast bowlers, then why not play the off spinner who is not going to disappoint you either? I know Kuldeep Yadav's very good.
Oh, actually, it's his home ground as well.
Yeah, well.
Kanpur, not too far away from Lucknow. Sentimental.
Okay. Yeah, well.
But talking of the player who's not here, Ravichandran Ashwin, he has his own YouTube channel. I was listening to him because it's very rare to have a contemporary player playing in a World Cup and you get to hear his thoughts. And he was saying that while the Indian team has won 5, he said for us, yes, it was Australia and Pakistan, but he said for us, the actual phase of the World Cup which is going to test us is now. He said as a team, when we looked at the schedule, we looked at New Zealand, England, Sri Lanka and South Africa as being the biggest test for this team. Right? So for India, who are sailing, if anyone thinks they're going to be complacent or anything, well, this is somebody who's in the team talking on his YouTube channel. It was in Tamil, so it was subtitles, so I sort of heard 20 minutes. When you have an off, you can do things there. You should listen to it as well. Remarkable clarity of thought as to where teams are and what's going on. He also said that nobody expected England to be so poor. But just this point, this 4-match set, New Zealand, England, Sri Lanka, South Africa.
So does that mean if they were in the first 4 games, the same thing? You know, look.
He said Australia was the first game, and you knew that Pakistan was emotional. But he said where we expected to be really tested to qualify was this block of 4, and we're keeping it that way.
Well, obviously, because they are strong teams, right? But unfortunately, England hasn't lived up to their reputation in this tournament. So, you know, you do make assessments before you go into any multi-opposition format like World Cups. You do project. You have to have some idea of where the threats are. What are the stronger teams that you come up against? That's nothing new, but it happens to also be in the second half of this tournament. So, you know, it takes on a bit more of an importance. But they're in a very good position, Diggy, because they've played very well so far, and they're on top of the table. And it's not beyond them to go all the way, win the cup without dropping a game.
Let's look at the Indian team's record so far at this World Cup as we build up to this match. And after that, I'm going to start taking your comments, your questions to Dav Whatmore. Our segment, No More with Whatmore. All you need to do is use the hashtag AskDav or hashtag #WIONCricket, or be live on YouTube, Facebook, across our social media streams. All you need to do is ask the questions there, and they're going to be sent here right to me by my lovely social team, which is waiting outside. Okay? This is India's record of the World Cup, beat Australia by 6. Perhaps the only game where India have been tested, really tested.
Early on, yeah. In that run chase.
In that run chase, right?
Yeah.
Had lost the top 3 for nil.
Yeah.
And after that, cruise. Okay, New Zealand wasn't that big a cruise, but it was a great run chase. I mean, there was no point in that game where we thought India were out of it. New Zealand made it very difficult.
Yeah, look, New Zealand were going really well in those middle overs when they were batting first.
India pulled it back.
Yeah, they only got 54 runs with 6 wickets in hand as
in the last 10.
The 41st over. That's right. So you know that just goes to show you the quality of the ability to bowl in the last 10, where it becomes really intense and difficult. They picked up 4 wickets for only 54 runs. And
let's bring up India's top performers, and let's look at the bowlers first, because while the batters, as Dav always says, it's a batter's world. But while the batters have always been sort of getting the runs, when you look closely at this, and we have full frame on this, Bumrah 11 wickets. They've all got wickets, okay? Shami got 5 in 1. But look at the economy rates, especially the engine room. Bumrah 3.8 stat in the first 10, the power play. His economy rate is 2.9.
Well, I was just going to
Kuldeep 4.74. Jadeja under 4. Yes, Siraj has gone for runs, but he's had this ability to come back in the middle overs, and perhaps with Shami now playing, he's going to be looking over his shoulder saying, you know what, I don't want to have a Shardul Thakur happening to me. So perhaps that's a bit of competition for him as well. But this is why India are winning matches. And today they're going to be under pressure, because today they have to defend.
Yeah, well, that's right. I mean, they start well with the ball in hand. And as you said before, just now, the first 10 overs, Bumrah has an economy of under 3. So, you know, that's wonderful. But his bowling partner, Siraj, is the one that's leaking a few runs, and, you know, that allowing the opposition still at the end of 10 overs to get between a 50 or a 60 runs. So, that's one of the reasons why India's doing well is Jasprit Bumrah in the first 10 and also in the last 10.
Okay, a couple of questions. Let's take them. Trisha asks, so win here would seal India's spot in the semis. And Trisha, it's also officially going to knock England out. And I always believe if you have a chance to push someone out of the tournament, take it first and don't think about what happens. Remember South Africa, Australia, 1999. They could have knocked them out, but they went on to win. A win here would seal India's spot in the semis. How crucial would that be heading forward? If India win this, they still have South Africa, Sri Lanka, then South Africa and Netherlands. Then does that allow them the freedom to chop and change, or you don't want to? You don't want to at this stage. No sentiment. You've qualified for the semis. Keep the same team. Don't chop and change. Stick with what is working, because we've seen with England, you chop and change too much, things could go haywire.
But that's a totally different set of circumstances. England stopping and changing. But India have every right to, to rotate a little bit. You never know what lies in the next week or so. A little niggle here, niggle there. You don't need to.
Pandya's still not sure when he's coming back.
He's going to be a while, I reckon. But you never know what lies ahead in the next week. So I think you need to keep an open mind. Certainly, I'd look at one or two of the bowlers that may need a game off to refresh. What matters is the final, not in the next couple of games, because they're assured of playing in the semi-final. So it's almost another preparation phase before the actual knockout phase of this tournament starts.
Okay, let's look at something else. Current comments. This is turning out to be Virat Kohli's best ODI World Cup. How many runs and centuries will he score? And let's look at some numbers we have of Virat Kohli at this tournament as well. He's India's leading run getter. So it's a battle between him and Rohit Sharma. It takes two to tango. One and three. Okay, Virat Kohli's numbers on your screens. 5 matches, 354 runs. 350s, 100, could have very easily been 200s. Dav and I weren't too happy with the way he went about that. But he's letting his bat do the talking. In fact, we spoke about this in our pre-tournament show. The problem with Virat is he's never stamped his class overall on a World Cup. We're seeing it now.
Yes,
both
right.
Him and Rohit.
Yeah, that's right. So what we're seeing...
hang on, sorry. Lovely pictures. Two of Uttar Pradesh's greatest cricketers ever for India, Mohammad Kaif and Suresh Raina, bringing out the trophy. That's a good touch.
It is.
It's a good touch. Yeah. Sorry, carry on.
Home game.
Home game.
Yeah, no, I was just going to reiterate what you're saying, that Kohli hasn't had the best of tournaments in World Cups, but this one, I tell you, he's stamping his authority on it, because as we discussed some weeks earlier, that I don't think he'll be around in the next 4 years, so when the World Cup comes around again. So I think this is very important for him personally, and also from the team perspective, to ensure that he does very well, which will mean the team also generally will do well also. So very important for him. He started the tournament extremely well, unlucky not to get a second 100 and be equal with the great Tendulkar, but I think that'll happen soon.
Let's look at these Kohli numbers from this tournament. In fact, the 85 against Australia was match winning. In fact, I rate that more highly than KL Rahul's 97, because he had to struggle. He really had to struggle initially.
After he got dropped.
Afghanistan 55 looked in good nick, even against Pakistan, because I was there at the game. He was in good nick, then he got out. But when you look at this, as you say, you can see it in his eyes. He's determined. He's determined.
Both those dismissals, short ball, pull shot.
Pakistan? Yeah. Try to pull him.
That's right.
Got there.
Afghanistan? Not 100% sure on that one. But certainly Australia was dropped on the pull shot. So I think that that shot may be exploited with the opposition from time to time as well. But those numbers are fantastic. You'd take them any day. With any team that you're in, and he's done. He's central. He and Sharma has been central to what's been happening.
Talking of Sharma, let's get up Sharma's numbers. Let's get Rohit Sharma's numbers Overview of this ground, lots of blue. Vidur is joined back, so he's going to tell us if he's managed to pick up a Virat shirt. But Vidur, if you're hearing this, I'm not allowing you to wear a Virat shirt on air. Okay? Vidur, we're just looking at Rohit's numbers. We get back to you. So these are Rohit's numbers. 5 matches, 311 runs. What this doesn't show you, Dav, is the intent. He is going for it at the start, and nobody in this World Cup has been scoring more runs. In fact, he's got more sixes than a lot of other teams. That's that intent which is powering India ahead. We've seen that in run chases. Does Rohit change his approach now that India are going to bat first?
No, not really. I don't think so. That's the second reason why India's done well. They start well, whether they do it with the ball in hand with Bumrah, as we just discovered. 2.9 in the first 10 overs in the power play, 2.9. Now, Sharma, in the first 10 overs, and he's getting runs, so he bats more than 10 overs, 134% strike rate. You know, and you got his partner, Shubman Gill, who's no slow coach either, and between them, goodness, you know, it puts the pressure immediately back on the opposition. It makes it easier for the people coming behind him. So, you know, well done.
Vidur, obviously India haven't played for a while. They had a couple of days off. We saw the team support staff going off for a trek in Dharamshala. I'm told the Indian team was strictly banned. No trekking for you. Do what you want. No trekking, no paragliding, none of that adventure stuff. There's a World Cup on. Vidur would have loved to be there. He fell ill. Or he would have been sort of doing that in Dharamshala.
I'll do it after the World Cup.
Okay, you'll wait after the World Cup. But talking about the break, they've come to Lucknow. And it's a ground where you know very well from the IPL. But obviously, relayed pitch and all of that. What did you make of the nets? Can you tell us? Did the bowlers went missing, but the batters, they had a long extended session. Did you see Sky hit those shots? Did you see Rohit Sharma try to block, or do you see Rohit playing aggressively as he's playing in this tournament?
Well, as I mentioned before, Digvijay, there were net bowlers, so they weren't really facing high quality bowlers. But the mood in the camp was more or less relaxed. Rohit Sharma, you know, whatever the situation is, he's always seemed very relaxed, and that's how he sort of made his entry to the practice session. He had his rest, and then obviously he went out to bat in the nets. First we saw him blocking a few, and then we saw him hitting the odd six. In fact, that's more or less the way we saw Virat, Surya Kumar Yadav, even Shreyas Iyer, all were very sort of calculated in the way they were playing, you know, playing a varied number of shots. So we saw them blocking, we saw them hitting. So I think what we see right now is an Indian team. They've got their mindset, and the mood in the camp is very positive. They're all very settled. They have some rhythm going into the bat, something that England do not have at all. So they are settled, and it's just been perfect. They've ticked all boxes coming into the tournament. So far, it has been absolutely perfect. But this time, they are batting first, something they haven't done. All the 5 victories have come chasing. So another box that India can tick today in the World Cup.
Okay, how do they assess this now? They have an England team which is struggling. You are going to go for the jugular. You are going to go for the win and make it 6-6. Let's look at the points table, if you can bring that up as well. Why it's going to confirm India's semi-final berth and officially not knock England out. How do they approach this now? Now they're not chasing. We know how they chase. Now, let's go back. Last game, Australia, South Africa, 300 and something we got there. It's been a high-scoring ground.
Yeah, it can be. We're not exactly sure, as I always say. Just have a look at how the pitch is playing. Then you make an assessment of what the pass score is. But it doesn't matter who you're playing against, Diggy. I think certain individuals you'll understand because you've done your research on it the night before. But there are certain principles in one-day cricket when you bat first, and that is to ensure that you get a very good total that you're able to protect when you're bowling second. So That being the case, you've got to ensure that there's a little bit of work done, in that first 40 overs to ensure that there's enough total before, you can put the foot on the accelerator later.
And they've got Sky. They've got Sky. Hopefully it doesn't max well for them. No, but just from a batting perspective, now, do you change your mindset if you're chasing and if you're starting out first? Do teams usually change their mindset?
Yeah,
because obviously you know how many runs to get. And when you're batting first...
You don't know what the total is, right? But
Exactly.
batting first, I think you've got to just ensure that you bat according to the conditions, because that's what it is. You know when you bat second what those conditions are. So you have a little look, make a decision on what you think the pass score is, minimum score, and you have to bat accordingly. And sometimes when the score, 220, 240 is enough, that's when you've got to be so disciplined to ensure that you don't get carried away when you look at the scoreboard and you think, geez, we're only 4 runs and over here, because you're used to scoring 300 plus. So depending on what that figure is, then you've got to be extremely disciplined to ensure that you get that.
And also, what will work in India's favour is that Rohit Sharma trusts his bowlers. He trusts his bowlers.
Yeah.
And you never know with England, it could come off today. It could come off today. They could win this.
Yeah.
It's sadly not going to be good for India, but they could dent other teams, in fact.
It'll count in that first 10 overs, though. When India come out and Bumrah's figures, Siraj and Mohammad Shami, it'll be very difficult in that first 6 to 10 overs. If they can overcome that without losing a wicket,
or too many wickets,
then it'll be a good match.
Vidur, what are you hearing? What are they saying about the ground? What's a good score? What's a good score batting first?
Well, in fact, if we see the matches so far, the highest score has been South Africa, who scored 311 at the ground. So India batting first, I think anything around that 300 run mark will be difficult to chase, because as we have seen in the previous matches, and the reason that India was sort of maybe considering bringing Ashwin into the lineup, it hasn't happened, is that it's expected to turn more in the second innings. So I think anything around that 300 odd run mark will be a good score. I can hear loud cheers right now. I think the first ball is about to be bowled, and
yes, Rohit taking strike.
Rohit's
taking strike.
They definitely.
Rohit's taking strike right now.
Want a 300
we got Willie.
plus score.
Yeah, Willie's got the ball, and Dav's going to look closely at this ball, and that will tell us how this pitch is doing. In the meanwhile, I'm going to look at our polls. We had some questions going. Let's see. The first one: will Virat Kohli equal the great Tendulkar's record today? 73% of you think yes.
If he has time. If he has time.
If he has time. Vidur? Vidur, are you prepared to see history?
Well, that's a...
Vidur's a Delhi boy as well.
I will see it at some point, but I'm not too sure if I will see it today. But if he gets enough time, you can never bet against him. So
batting first?
Let's see. But at some point during the tournament, I think we'll see
One ball.
One ball, okay.
It didn't swing either, that one. Went pretty much straight through, although scrambled, see?
Yeah.
Went across him.
73% yes, 27% no. Our second question we asked, should Ashwin have played ahead of Shami? Dav?
I think so.
You think so?
Yeah.
45% of you agree with Dav, and 55% think no, Shami should have played, which is what's happening. We also had a poll going of who has been England's biggest disappointment. I'll let you chew on it, and Vidur can give us the first answer. Vidur, your options are Adil Rashid, Ben Stokes, Johnny Bairstow and Jos Buttler. Who for you has been England's biggest disappointment?
I think it has to be Jos Buttler, the captain, because purely he hasn't put the runs on the board. And we've seen him, lead the team from the front when it comes to the T20 World Cup. He has had so much experience in India. He's done so well in the IPL. And the fact that he's not got any big score in 5 matches now really means that he's not made the contribution that he should have. So I'd say Jos Buttler.
You? For you?
I'm going for Bairstow. Because
Same as me. I'm going for Bairstow as well.
Because all these top teams get off to a good start.
Yeah.
And he came with this huge reputation, and unfortunately has not been able to come with the goods. And for that reason, I think Bairstow is really disappointed, you know.
Okay.
Josh Butler also is disappointing, but I think Bairstow for me.
Yeah, for me as well. Bairstow at the top of the order. What he does for them with baseball. You're saying something, Vidur? We can't hear you. Hang on.
Different answers just tells you that.
Yeah, we can hear you now.
I'm seeing the fact that we have different answers. Yeah, the fact that we have different answers just shows you how disappointing England have been at this tournament.
Yeah, let's look at the numbers of what our fans think. Butler 57%, Bairstow 15%, Stokes 17%, Adil Rashid 11%. Okay. Okay, this is going to be an interesting one. Who is the best batter at the World Cup? Of the World Cup, what we have seen so far. Your options, Vidur, I'll come to you first. Quinton de Kock, Rachin Ravindra, Virat Kohli, Rohit Sharma. Vidur?
Well, you know, I think I'd go for Rachin Ravindra because before this tournament, not many people sort of knew about him. And of course, Virat Kohli and Rohit Sharma, you expect them to do well at the World Cup. Rohit Sharma, you know, made 5 centuries in the last tournament. Virat Kohli, we know all about him. He's the master of the chase, and he's lived up to those expectations, which is not easy. I'm not, you know, counting them out. But Rachin Ravindra, just the kind of performances that he's given at this tournament, and of course New Zealand did not get that victory, but they delivered an absolute thriller. So I would say Rachin Ravindra so far has, you know, caught my eye, and he's been absolutely outstanding, and he's been good with the ball. He's decent with the ball as well. Let's put it that way.
I'm worried for you. I'm worried for you, Dav. I'm worried for you and me. He's going to take our jobs. That's a great analysis, and that's the answer I would have given. That's the answer you would have given, because he is the unknown, and when the unknown is no longer a flash in the pan as well, the first game could have been a fluke, but he's been scoring against some decent teams.
Absolutely, and he's a youngster. He's 23 years old, and you know he's really been a gem, a hidden gem that's come out, and you know he's in many ways had to do it tougher because the expectation. You know, after that first game was so much, and often when you're young, you know, it's easy to, you know, just fail. But no, he's taken the responsibility, particularly against Australia yesterday. Wonderful, wonderful effort, and you know, really on his performance, they nearly got through.
Yep, and the poll though says 46% Kohli expected, 21% Rohit, but also 21% Ravindra, just 11 for de Kock, who's got what, 3 centuries?
Yeah, and he's leading.
He's leading. Okay, final one, easier one. Who's going to win in Lucknow today? 85% of you saying India, 15% saying England. We'll ask Dav his prediction.
Of
India, of course.
Of course.
Let's, Vidur, ready for an Indian win?
India. 50,000 fans want an Indian win here. I don't think they'll be disappointed.
Okay, final word, not from Vidur or from Dav. Final word to Tanishq. We are witnessing history in the making. Let's cheer for the pursuit of 6-0. We take our tennis very seriously on WION. And in tennis, that scoreline is called, Vidur, what do we call our 6-0 scoreline?
Bagel.
Yes, it's a bagel. Let's see if India are enjoying a bagel at the end of the game. Dav Whatmore will be back at the mid-inning show with my colleague Nikhil Mathur. Vidur is going to be keeping an eye on this game now that I've sort of sorted things out for him. We're going to wrap this up. We're going to enjoy the game as things stand. Good start from England. India haven't scored of the 8 balls that they've faced. That initial thoughts, ball not swinging much, but India watchful.
They are, that's right. So you need to have a bit of a look and see what's happening. But certainly the deliveries have been pretty much spot on, which is a bit of a change from what we're expecting with the England bowlers. They've been a bit loose, particularly this boy, Chris Wokes. He's got another chance to come in, so he's bowled 2 good ones. and the third one is also on the offside, but a bit short.
Good punch from Shubman Gill.
Yeah,
India have a boundary. India are underway. Time for me to head off and have my lunch. We'll see you mid-innings show. Vidur Kathuria, Dav Whatmore and Nikhil Mathur. Bye.